I've audited 67 Klaviyo accounts in the last 24 months, from 6-figure brands to over 8-figure brands, and I keep seeing the same mistakes over and over again. And these aren't just small mistakes, these are mistakes that are costing brands literally from 30 to 50% of their potential email revenue. Now, before you think your Klaviyo is fine or you already have your flow set up, I'm going to prove you wrong. 9 out of 10 brands I audit think their email is fully dialed in, and then I show them they're leaving up to $500K on the table every single month from simple fixes they didn't know existed. In this video, I'm breaking down the 10 most common mistakes I see in every single Klaviyo account I audit and how you can fix them yourself. By the end, you'll know the technical setup that's killing your deliverability, the flows that you're missing that cost you thousands per month, and the campaign mistakes that are literally training your audience to ignore you. So by the end of this video, your email marketing should be one of your most profitable marketing channels. So I audited 67 Klaviyo accounts in the last 24 months, and I'm going to go over 10 things that I've noticed in almost all of them. By the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Lazar and I'm the founder of Exception Digital. We're an email and SMS marketing partner for clothing and apparel brands doing over 7 figures annually, and we've generated multiple 8 figures for our partner brands. Here are some results. You could check me out on my social media, and we also have a media page where we post daily news and content on your favorite brands. Anyways, let's get into the video. So the first mistake that I see is email authentication not set up properly. So this includes branded sender domain. Now, this is the most technical issue on the list, and if you don't have this set up, your emails will only land in spam folders. And I tend to see this in at least 30% of the accounts I audit. And most brands skip this step entirely or set it up wrong in the beginning because they think their emails are sending, so it must be fine, right? But that's not the case. Here's what's actually happening. Gmail and Outlook are checking whether they could trust your emails. And if you haven't proven you're a legitimate sender, they flag you as suspicious. Or even worse, most brands send from the same domain they use for their website, like info@brandname or hello brand name, whatever it is. And this creates a massive risk that nobody talks about. So if your email domain gets marked as spam for any reason, so like one bad campaign, one spam trap email, even a competitor reporting you, your entire domain reputation tanks. And that means your transactional emails like order confirmations and shipping updates also start going to spam just because you use the same domain. It means your entire business communication infrastructure is now broken. So how do we fix it? What you're doing when you set up a branded sender domain in Klaviyo is solving both of these problems at once. First, you're creating a dedicated subdomain for your marketing emails. Instead of sending from info@brandname.com, you're now sending from something like mail.brandname.com or shop.brandname.com. And this separates your marketing emails from your transactional emails. If your marketing domain gets flagged, your business critical emails are still safe. Like your transaction emails or shipping updates are still safe. Second, you're adding DNS records to your domain that prove to email providers you're a legitimate sender. These records, called SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, act like a digital signature that says, yes, this email actually came from my brand. It's not a phishing attempt or a spam email, right? When you add those 5 custom records to your domain DNS settings, the 4 NS records and the 1 text record, which you'll see in this video down here, you're telling Gmail, Outlook, and Yahoo, and every other email provider, like, I'm a real business, I control this domain, these emails are authorized to come from me. So without these records in place, email providers see you as unverified. They don't know if you're legitimate or a spammer. So they default to caution and send your emails to spam or block them right off the bat. Once you verify your branded sender domain in Klaviyo, you've officially authenticated your emails and isolated your marketing infrastructure from your business critical infrastructure. So here's a step-by-step video on how to do this. Go into Klaviyo settings and then click on domain, add domain, enter your sending domain. And then here I choose to set up manually because it's pretty simple. Choose your domain provider. So whatever domain provider you use for your domain, you choose. If it's not on the list, you click other and then click next. And now they provide you with these DNS records. So what you want to do next is open a new tab and go on to whatever domain provider you used. So for us, it's Squarespace. So then you click on your domain and then click on DNS settings. And then once you're in your DNS settings, you're just gonna add these 5 custom records that Klaviyo gave you on the other tab that we were just on. There's 4 NS records and 1 text record that you need to add. So just add those one by one, copying the host name and the value for each record, and you can leave the other stuff the same. Now I'm just going to skip through because you're just repeating the same thing for all 5. Once you've added all 5, you want to save them in your domain DNS settings, then you can return to Klaviyo and click verify. And if you did everything right, it should verify right away or fairly quickly, and then you'll just need to type I understand in Klaviyo to confirm your branded sender domain. And that's it. It's pretty simple. And the reason this matters is because this is the foundation of everything else in your email program. You have the best flows, the best campaigns, the best copy, but if your emails aren't reaching inboxes, none of it matters. So this single fix can increase your inbox placement by 30 to 40%, and it protects your business from a catastrophic scenario where your transactional email stopped working, for example. So you need to have this in place before you do anything else. Without proper email authentication, your email marketing is pointless at scale. It's pointless even not at scale. It's pointless regardless if you don't have this set up. Now, the second mistake is no lead generation systems in place, or a terrible one. And a lot of people underestimate how much pop-up forms actually drive your email marketing revenue. I made a video talking about the actual math of how much a pop-up form converting at 2% and how much a pop-up form converting at 10% generates. And the difference was like $480K a year. So have this converting well, put some extra time into it, trust me, it's worth it. And I see two versions of this mistake, and unfortunately it's more common than expected. The first mistake we see, which is by far the worst, is not having a pop-up form at all. The brand is relying on checkout page lead generation forms or embedded forms at the bottom of the website, which is leaving 80% of their potential signups on the table. Now, the second mistake is seeing they have a pop-up form in place, but it's too generic and converts at 1 to 3%. Which, don't get me wrong, is the industry standard, but just because other brands have theirs converting at 2% doesn't mean you should as well. And then finally, just slapping get 10% off copy onto the pop-up form with a poor design isn't enough to do the trick. That's what everyone does. You have to stand out, be different. Now, to get a good lead generation system that converts, you have to do these steps. First of all, it has to have a strong headline and copy, because this is the first thing customers read or website visitors read. Make the offer big and bold. It's the first thing that captures their attention, so it has to be clearly visible. Next, value proposition. Frame it as exclusivity and not just a discount bribe. If they feel like they're joining something exclusive, there's a way bigger chance they sign up than if you were just trying to sell them. So for example, tell them early access, sneak peeks, etc. Visual design, make it on brand and clean so that it's visually appealing. Don't use the generic Klaviyo templates. I see so many people using these templates. Trust me, they're good for converting at 2 to 3%, but what I'm telling you to do up here is aiming for your pop-ups to convert at 10%. So make your own from scratch. Make sure you have one clear CTA, make the submit buttons visible, and clear call to actions like get early access or claim 15% off, not just subscribe. It's too generic and there's no call to action. This is also a really important one input field per step. First email, then SMS inputs, or vice versa. Adding both to one single step feels like too much work, and there's a bigger chance they click away without submitting than submitting both. So this is an example of one input per step. Here you have email input, and then once they submit this, it will take them to their SMS input. If you put both, there's a chance none of them get filled out. Now finally, you want to optimize it for mobile devices. 60 to 70% of traffic is mobile. So make sure you have separate pop-up forms for both mobile and desktop so that your dimensions don't get messed up. And then the last one is show the pop-up after 5 to 10 seconds of browsing. Showing it right away is unattractive because the site visitors didn't even get a chance to land on the site yet. You're selling them right away. It feels like you don't care about them, you just want their money, and it's unattractive. People don't like this. The third mistake on the list is double opt-ins turned on. So this one's very controversial in the email marketing world, but the truth is double opt-ins kill list growth for most e-com brands. Double opt-in is when someone signs up through your pop-up form, then Klaviyo sends them a confirmation email asking them to click a link to confirm their subscription. And only after they click this button are they added to your list. So you've probably received one of these emails. This is a double opt-in email. So this is obviously set up with good intentions and sounds right in theory, but in reality, 30 to 50% of people never end up clicking that confirmation link. They sign up and they're excited to receive your emails, but they don't check their inbox immediately, or their confirmation email goes to spam, and you just lost half your signups right off the bat. If you're worried about spam emails or fake emails going through, yes, some of them will go through, but that's why you clean your list manually once a month. The trade-off of losing 30 to 50% of real signups is not worth it. And here's a video on how to turn off your double opt-in. So Klaviyo, click on the audience tab and go lists and segments. Choose your main list where people get added to when they submit their email, and then go into list settings, consent, click on single opt-in, and click save. And now here you have your monthly list cleaning segment. So clean your list once a month using this segment. So just suppress these people every month. This way you'll be paying less for your Klaviyo subscriptions, and you won't be sending emails to people that don't exist. So what someone has or has not done: marked email as spam at least once over all time, bounced emails at least 3 over all time, open email 0 times in the last 180 days, bounced email at least once over all time, received emails at least 15 in the last 180 days, can receive email marketing. Do these 2 steps and you'll keep your list clean without sacrificing list growth. Single opt-in paired with monthly list cleaning beats double opt-in every single time. The fourth most common mistake I see is missing cart abandonment flow. So unlike abandoned checkout trigger that gets integrated with Shopify by itself, the abandoned cart trigger needs to get integrated manually, and most people miss this step. And no, it's not the same thing. Checkout and cart abandonment are not the same metrics. Checkout abandonment is when someone literally goes all the way through checkout, types in their info, and then leaves. But cart abandonment, on the other hand, triggers when someone adds a product to their cart but never makes it to checkout, which happens way more often than checkout abandonment. I'm very guilty of this, you're probably guilty of this, and it's higher up in the funnel. So how do we actually integrate the cart trigger? In Klaviyo, select the integrations tab, click Shopify to access the integration settings page. On the on-site tracking section, check track behavioral events to enable tracking for viewed collection, submitted search, and added to cart. And then click turn on button, which will take you to your Shopify page. Sign into Shopify using the account that you integrated with Klaviyo, and you'll be brought to your theme settings app embeds tab, turn on Klaviyo app embed right here. So make sure your Klaviyo on-site tracking is turned on, click save in your theme editor. Go back to your Shopify integrations page in Klaviyo and refresh the page if needed. You should see a green banner letting you know that your app embed is now enabled. So now that you have this set up, to double check it's working, you want to go into Klaviyo metrics, choose added to cart metric, and if there's activity, it's working. If there's no activity, that means you didn't do it properly. So once you have your added to cart metric integrated with Klaviyo, you want to actually make the flow. So to do this, you want to click trigger added to cart, profile filters, checkout started 0 times since starting this flow, and placed order 0 times since starting this flow. So if someone continues to checkout, they leave the flow when they get added to checkout abandonment flow. And if someone places order, they leave the flow as well. So you can see the profile filters here and the trigger up here. Now your cart abandonment flow emails can be the same design as your checkout abandonment, just different copy that aims more towards cart abandons, not checkout. So for example, hey, you left something at checkout, you'd change it to hey, you left something in your cart. Start with the same time delays as well, but make sure you test them because we've seen different time delays work better for cart abandonment versus checkout abandonment flows. This flow targets people earlier in the buying journey and it stacks with your checkout abandonment flow. If they make it to checkout, they exit the cart flow and enter the checkout abandonment flow. Now this also ties into the fifth mistake, which is site and browser abandonment not set up or tracking poorly. Your site gets thousands of visitors and maybe a few hundred of those add to cart. So what do we do with the rest of these visitors if we can't send them cart with checkout abandonment flows? And we don't want them to just leave the site and never come back. This is where we introduce site and browse abandonment flows. Browse abandonment gets triggered when someone views a product but never adds to cart or goes further down your funnel, whereas site abandonment on the other hand gets triggered when someone is on your website but doesn't engage with any products at all. So this is the top of the funnel. A common issue I see is brands have these two flows set up but they're not actually tracking properly. The website activity metric isn't integrated properly, so it's not tracking your website activity, hence it's not sending out site and browse abandonment flows. So to fix browse abandonment metric not being integrated properly, the metric that triggers this flow is viewed product. So to double check if it's working, go to Klaviyo, analytics, metrics, and then search viewed product. If you don't see any data, your integration isn't working. This is an example of the integration working. You see activity every single day. So if it's not working, open integrations, choose Shopify, Klaviyo embed, select add viewed product tracking to my site, as you can see here, and that's it. Then you want to double check to see if it is working, so redo this step up here and track if there's any activity going on. Now here comes the fun part. Mistake number 6, terrible deliverability score and not doing anything about it. Deliverability is single-handedly the silent killer of email revenue most people don't even know about. I've seen brands with hundreds of thousands of subscribers making 5% of their revenue from email marketing because their deliverability went down the drain and their emails aren't reaching inboxes, so they're sending emails for no reason. Here are a few things that are absolutely killing your deliverability. Sending to your entire list every time and including people who haven't opened in over 6 months. Not sending emails frequently, then blasting everyone once a month when you have a drop. Low engagement metrics, so low open rates and click-through rates. Not excluding balance profiles, which is a really big one, and I don't see a lot of people doing this. And then also no list cleaning. So if you don't clean your list, your Klaviyo bill is more expensive for no reason. So to check your deliverability score to see if it's healthy or not, you want to go into the main sidebar in Klaviyo, open the analytics dropdown, and then deliverability. If your sender score is below 85, then you have a serious issue, but you should aim for at least anywhere from 90 to 95. So here's an example, and it also shows you what your metrics are. They give you a KPI as well. As you can see here on subscribe rate, it's still better than the KPI, but it has some work to do. So how do you actually fix your deliverability score? In order to fix your deliverability score, you need to send campaigns to engaged segments. Start off by sending to a 14-day engaged segment. As you can see here, 14 days engaged. If someone can or cannot receive email marketing, the person can receive email marketing and open email at least once in the last 14 days where Apple privacy open is false, or what someone has or has not done, clicked email at least once in the last 14 days where bot click is false. So I'm going to explain why we do every single one of these. Can receive email marketing, which is pretty obvious. You're not allowed to send emails to people who can't receive your email marketing. So you have to filter out people that can't receive email marketing. Open email at least once in the last 14 days where Apple privacy open is false. Now I see a lot of people adding this filter right here, but not a lot of people exclude Apple privacy open is false. So if you don't know what this here means, it's pretty much a thing called MPP, so mail privacy protection. And that's when you receive an email and Apple opens it for you to make sure that it's safe. So let's say I receive an email from Nike. I haven't opened the email yet, but my phone opens it to make sure that it's not a spam email or a phishing scam. And then when this happens, this automatically adds you to an opened in the last 14 days segment, even though you didn't open the email yourself. So we exclude MPP opens to prevent segment inflation and only add people who actually open the email themselves to get to the segment. And then clicked email at least once in the last 14 days where bot click is false. So you want to do clicked email at least in the 14 days as well, just in case Klaviyo, for example, misses people who open the email, right? So you add clicked email at least once in the 14 days where bot click is false. Similar concept, your email providers click the links in the emails you receive to make sure they're safe, but then this automatically counts as an email click, which also inflates the segment, so we try and avoid that. And then engage 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, etc. These segments are created the same way. You just change the day to open at least once in the last 30 days, for example, or 60 days, depending on the segment you're making. So send to 14 days engaged until you start getting consistent open rates of over 50 to 60% and over 1.2% click-through rate. Then transition to sending to 30 days engaged, following the same metric KPIs, and keep expanding to 60, 90, etc. You also need to increase campaign frequency to these engaged segments because consistent sending with good engagement signals to email providers your emails are wanted, which boosts your deliverability score. So this means if you have a drop, you can't just send one campaign to a 14-day engaged segment and then that's it for the month. You have to send multiple emails a week. And from my experience, anywhere from 2 to 3 emails a week is ideal. So obviously send 2 to 3 emails a week to a 14-day engaged segment. Then once it starts getting good open rates, click-through rates, and just overall engagement, upgrade to a 30-day engaged segment. This mistake here can also cost you your deliverability score to decrease, and this is not properly uploading campaigns to Klaviyo. This one seems small, but it has a massive impact on deliverability and user experience. Uploading huge uncompressed images directly into Klaviyo without even cropping it into different sections affects load times, and it triggers spam filters because image-heavy emails with no text look like promotional spam. So when I say cropping images, I mean you upload your whole design, then you crop the logo, for example, and then the body section. Obviously, this is just 2 parts because it's an example, but you want to do this for each section. Crop images to avoid email clipping. So when the file is too big, the design randomly gets clipped off at a certain section. Or for example, your footer might get clipped off and it doesn't send out at all. So cropping into multiple sections allows you to link to multiple different products or collection pages as well. And overall, cropping images properly improves load times, inbox placement, and conversion rates. So I don't know if you've ever opened an email before where you open it, but it takes a few seconds to fully load and just little pieces getting added to it. If you crop it, you reduce the risk of this happening. Now, another big part is alt text. This also ties into adding alt text properly into your email designs. When you crop different sections, as you can see here, you'll see 2 options: the link to the section and then alt text. Now, if you don't know what alt text is in simple terms, alt text is a brief description added to images and GIFs because email providers can't really see the image you sent out. But if you add alt text, they're able to read it. And in case your content doesn't load for whatever reason, the alt text is displayed so that the reader can still see your message. So for example, your image didn't load, but your alt text said 50% off sale. The reader can still see the offer even though the image isn't there. And then finally, linking images. Make sure to link every image to improve both click-through rate and overall conversions. And at the end of the day, the whole point of your emails is to guide the leads back to your website and get them to purchase. So if you don't link your emails, this isn't possible. So when you crop your design, click on the image you want to link and link it to the desired product or collection page. So for example, if you want to link this logo, you click on it and then down here, you add the link and then alt text up here. Now this is a really big one that tends to go over everyone's heads for some reason, and it's only sending campaigns on drop day, which is a huge mistake. I see this constantly, especially with job-based apparel brands where they only send 1 email out on drop day, then nothing for the next 3 weeks. And there's 3 main issues with this. First of all, your deliverability tanks, which is what we talked about earlier. Sending inconsistently signals to email providers that you're not a real sender, which makes your sender reputation decay, and by the time you send your next campaign, it's landing in the spam folder. Your audience also forgets you exist. They get 1 email every 2 to 3 weeks, and after a while, they don't recognize your brand name in their inbox, so they fully stop engaging with your emails. And then last but not least, which is pretty obvious, you're leaving money on the table by not sending campaigns frequently. You're not creating hype, you're not building relationships or a community. You're just hoping people buy when you randomly send an email. And sorry to break it to you, but this doesn't work that way. The whole point I'm trying to make is let's start sending more emails, like literally 2, 3, 4 times a week. If you're sending cool, engaging campaigns, I promise you, your unsubscribe rates won't be high, your spam rates won't be high. Start sending more engaging campaigns. Send 2 to 4 campaigns per week, trust me. Here are a few campaign ideas you could send when you don't have a drop. How to style a certain product, behind the scenes of your brand, UGC or community outfits, which is a really good one for building community. Polls or questions, monthly recap, highlight bestsellers, tease upcoming drops, and finally build anticipation 1 to 2 weeks before launch. We have a full YouTube video going over every single step where product drops or huge sales and how to integrate it with your emails properly so that you execute perfectly. And the whole point that I'm trying to make is you need to be on top of their mind and build the relationship with them so that when you do drop, they are ready to buy. I also made a whole separate video on this of how we generated a brand almost $250,000 in a single day without dropping anything new or without running a single paid ad. And it all came down to controlled demand and sending the right email. So you should definitely go check that video out as well. Mistake number 9, this one's more analytical, but it's never running A/B tests. In theory, you can just set up your flows and lead generation systems one time and never touch them again, but you're genuinely leaving performance improvement on the table by not testing them. Running an A/B test doesn't seem like much of an improvement overall to your business, but when you zoom out and look at the grand scheme of things, it compounds like crazy. So let's say 10% better subject line here, 15% better CTA copy there, 20% better send time, etc. These all stack like crazy over time. Like literally over a year's time, that's tens of thousands, if not even hundreds of thousands in additional revenue, just because you took an extra 2 hours a day and A/B tested small things. So if you don't know where to start, here are some A/B test ideas. So for campaigns, you can test send times, for example, morning versus afternoon. The sender name, which is a really big one that's been doing really well for us recently. So for example, founder from this brand, or brand name versus brand team versus brand sale, right? Just test different sender names and they perform really well. Subject line, so question versus statement, emoji versus no emoji, curiosity driven versus direct. So for example, this sale is live versus open the email to see what the sale is, right? That's just an example, but curiosity driven versus direct. Then you also want to test preview text as well, because this is very underestimated. Use it to expand on subject line or even add urgency. And finally, CTA, so you could test shop now versus view collection, test different button colors, button placement, so higher up in the email versus lower in the email. So if you don't know how to A/B test campaigns, here's an example. Once you've fully uploaded your campaign into Klaviyo, you want to click this create A/B test button right here. And once you've clicked A/B test, you'll see two options. So test content or test end time. So test content is where you test subject lines, copy, or even different designs. And then test 10 times pretty obvious. You're testing different days or time of the day. So you'll have two options. You'll have variation A and variation B. Variation A is your baseline, the one that you're keeping the same. And then variation B is the new test. So for example, if you want to test subject lines, you do it here. Or if you want to test content, you could do it in here. So for example, if you want to test different CTAs, you could do it here. Just change both. And go back. And now you have two different variations. Then what you want to do is you want to scroll down here to the bottom. Just you want to scroll down here to the bottom, and then you could test different metrics as well. So if you want to test open rates or click rates, so for example, if you're changing the subject line in preview text, you want to test open rate metric because that's what's getting affected. But if you're testing different CTA or CTA copy, then you want to test click rates. And then to test send times, click this button up here, and then you can choose the date you want to send the first variation and then the time as well. You also want to A/B test your flows. So for example, time delays, 30-minute versus 60-minute for cart and checkout abandonment, 3 days versus 7 days for post-purchase review requests. Test discount strategy, so discount in email 1 versus email 3, or both. Test copy, so test copy length, short versus detailed, depends on the product and audience. So to A/B test flows, what you want to do is go into the actual flow, and then to test the email content, you want to click create A/B test, and then here you do the same thing with the campaigns. You could test subject lines and content. And then to change the metric that you're testing, you want to click this configure button right here, and you choose open rate or click rate, and you can end the test by statistical significance, or you could set a date limit where the test ends by itself. And to publish test, you just click publish test up here, and that's it. But if you want to A/B test different time delays for the flow, it's not the same. What you have to do is you have to add a conditional split and then do random sample, which is split by 50%. So 50% of people get the yes path and 50% of people get the no path. And then now you add the time delay, so 30 minutes, for example. And then you're A/B testing 30 minutes versus 1 hour. Just clone this email and add it here. And that's pretty much it. And finally, you want to A/B test pop-up forms as well. So time delays, scroll distance, offer, design. For example, 5 seconds versus 8 seconds of the user being on the website to get the pop-up form. Or scroll distance, which is the pop-up form doesn't show up until they scroll 40% of the website. Then test the offer, so you could do 15% off versus $10 off, or 15% off versus mystery discount. Then test the design as well, so it could be either a plain background or you can add an image from one of your photo shoots. So to A/B test pop-up forms, you want to obviously make your pop-up first, and then create A/B test up here in the corner, name it, and you have two variations. So we'll just name it baseline test and then time delay new variation. Now to actually make the different tests, what you want to do is click this drop down up here and choose the variation that you want. So you have variation 1, variation 2. So let's do variation 2, for example, and change the time delay right here. We'll do 10 seconds for this one, and then variation 1, we'll keep it at 5 seconds. and just continue to test settings, publish test, and that's it. One tip that I have to give you when it comes to A/B testing is only test one thing at a time. If you test the subject line and CTA, for example, at the same time, you won't know which one caused the difference. So only test one thing at a time. So only test subject lines or only A/B test CTAs at the same time. Now, finally, last but not least, mistake number 10, which is not excluding key segments from campaigns. This is a really big one. And believe it or not, there's actually non-negotiable segments that you need to exclude from every campaign you send in order to keep your deliverability healthy. So the first one is bounced emails. Bounced email is when someone enters the wrong email, for example, and it doesn't even exist. So when you send them a campaign, it bounces right back to you. If you have a high bounce score on your campaigns, it's gonna hurt your deliverability score like crazy. So always exclude these people no matter what. To build a bounce segment, I'm gonna zoom in right here. What someone has or has not done, person has bounced email at least once overall time, where bounce type is hard. Or what someone has or has not done, bounced email is greater than 1 overall time. So if they hard bounced at least once, they're getting excluded. Or if they bounce regularly over one time, then they get excluded. The reason we do this is just in case they bounced even though they have a normal email address. This filter here prevents that from happening. Now the second one is marked email as spam. If they already marked your email as spam once, there's no point of sending to them again. It'll just guarantee your email hitting their spam folder. So to make the segment, what someone has or has not done, person has marked email as spam at least once overall time. Now next is exclude people that place an order in the last 48 hours. You don't want to spam recent buyers. They're literally going through buyer's remorse as we speak. If they place an order at 2 p.m. and then you send a campaign out at 4 p.m. pushing the same product, they'll feel annoyed and spam. So to make this segment, what someone has or has not done, person has placed order at least once in the last 48 hours. And if someone can or cannot receive marketing, person can receive email marketing. Now, don't exclude the segment if you're advertising a new collection or a huge sale. So for example, if you drop a whole new collection, you still want to send to these people because they haven't bought that yet. But in general, you want to exclude these people, especially if you're just blasting emails about old collections that they might have purchased before. Now, the last segment that you also want to exclude is currently in high value abandonment flows. They've already been funneled through your customer lifecycle journey, so you want to let the abandonment flows do their thing and pick up on lost purchases. If you send them a campaign, they might get distracted and never go through your email backend system. Now, these are a little tedious to make, but I'll go through each one of them and explain to you how we made it. So currently in browse abandonment flow, what someone has or has not done, person has viewed product at least once in the last 30 days. We did 30 days because that's how long it takes for them to re-enter the browse abandonment flow. What someone has or has not done, added to cart 0 times in the last 30 days. Checkout started 0 times in the last 30 days. Placed orders 0 times in the last 30 days. And can receive email marketing. And received email at least once in the last 30 days. Where flow equals browse abandonment flow. So this is saying they received your browse abandonment flow in the last 30 days. And we do this just to confirm that they are in the browse abandonment flow. Now the next one is currently in cart abandonment flow. This is the same concept as the browse abandonment flow. We're just not including people that viewed a product, right? We're skipping that step because we're going deeper into the funnel. So what someone has or has not done, added to cart at least once in the last 10 days. We do 10 days for cart abandonment flow because that's how long they have until they can re-enter the flow again. And checkout started 0 times in the last 10 days and placed orders 0 times in the last 10 days. And can receive email marketing, and received flow email, which is the cart abandonment. And then finally, currently in checkout abandonment flow, so same concept as cart abandonment, we're just going even deeper into the funnel. So checkout started at least once in the last 10 days, and placed orders 0 times in the last 10 days, yada, yada, yada. Received email at least once in the last 10 days, where flow equals checkout abandonment. So how do we actually exclude these segments from campaign? Well, in Klaviyo, you want to create a campaign, obviously. Once you create a campaign, you choose the audience. So send to whatever segment you're sending to. Then down here is the segments that you're excluding. So bounced, placed order in the last 48 hours, currently in browse abandonment flow, currently in cart abandonment flow, currently in checkout abandonment flow, and then marked email as spam. You also want to turn off smart setting right here. So what do we do next? If you're stuck and you're not sure what to do next, I'm about to go over that. If you have any of these mistakes, you have some work to do, but the good news is they're all fixable. If you want to start improving your email marketing backend today, do it in this exact order. So first, fix the technical side of things, which includes DNS records, sender domain, dedicated sending domain, turn off double opt-in. Then you want to build out missing flows and metrics. So cart abandonment metric, browse and site abandonment metric. You want to do this before you start making the actual flows, because if you don't have this in place, you made the flows for no reason. Then you want to fix campaigns and deliverability. So create engage segments, set up exclusion segments, start sending 2 to 3 times per week to engage audiences, and follow correct email uploading guide. So this includes cropping, alt text, linking. So once you have all of these, you want to start optimizing. So start A/B testing relentlessly and clean your list once a month. Do this to lower your Klaviyo bill because there's no point of paying for Klaviyo for profiles that don't even exist, right? Now, if you own an apparel brand doing over 7 figures annually and want us to fully audit your Klaviyo account, showing exactly where you're leaking revenue, book a call below. Worst case scenario, you leave with some actionable steps you can implement yourself. If not, I'll see you in the next video.